Hey guys, welcome back. I am Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana, and you are watching Marksman TV. Thank you for tuning into another gun store vlog. Over the past couple months, after all this sort of pandemic stuff has started kicking off, I've been trying to give you guys updates on the industry about every 2 to 3 weeks or so. Starting back to when everything was getting crazy with all the panic buying, and then we reopened about 3 weeks ago. So I kind of gave you guys my impressions on that, and then now we've been open for 3 weeks, so I wanted to give you all an update. Okay, so first of all, number one thing is supply. So of course I work with a couple suppliers, a couple wholesalers. First, firearms and ammunition. So firearms are starting to come back on our allocation list. We're getting more normal type of stuff. It's not, again, going back to that, allocations are typically heavily vested in harder things to get, like the Ruger 5.7s or maybe the Glock 44s. New release items are typically what you will see on an allocation list with your wholesalers. Lately, we've been getting simple things like Mossberg 500s and Smith & Wesson shields and things like that. A lot of that stuff is starting to, well, not so much on the shotguns, but the shields and the SD9s and the Taurus G2Cs are starting to trickle back into the normal supply on the wholesaler web pages. But again, things that have been in higher demand, like the Mossberg 500s, which basically the pump shotgun scene was what got hit the hardest with all the pandemic buying and all that. AR-15s to a lesser extent, and definitely more desirable calibers like 9mm and 5.56 ammunition. A lot of that stuff is still on allocation, but I'm seeing it more frequently on my allocation list. So that stuff is coming back. As opposed to 3 weeks ago, I am getting it in more frequently. Now, along with that, the buying on that stuff has slowed down tremendously, at least in my store. Again, I am just one perspective, one gun store in central Indiana. So again, I like to hear your guys' perspective if you own or work at a gun store somewhere else in the country where you've been frequenting your shops in your local town. Let me know what you're seeing. But all the panic buyers, the new buyers and everything have pretty much 99% of that is all subsided. It's all my regulars. And of course we get new buyers, but it's mainly gun people who are making their rounds looking for new gun shops. Maybe they're new to the area, people who are visiting some family from out of town. So it's all pretty normal stuff we're seeing, not so much the heavy-handed panic buying and all that sort of stuff. So that's all pretty much completely subsided and over with. Now, getting back to distribution, even though product is starting to become available, one thing that is not improving is the delay it's taking for the wholesalers to get us inventory. So I work with a couple wholesalers, and both of them, one of them is getting a little bit quicker. I'm at about a 1 to 2 week delay there. The other one I work with is still sitting at about a 3 to 4 week-ish delay, but they are getting, they're catching up a little bit, but it's still taking them a lot of time to get through the backlog of everything that they've been dealing with. I know a lot of them are working on skeleton crews. They've got a lot of their people in their warehousing and on their sales rep side of things working from home. So, or the sales rep side working from home, and a lot of the warehouse people are working on reduced shifts and things like that to reduce their exposure to one another. So that's causing a lot of things to be delayed there. Now, a lot of people ask about shortages on time to get things transferred in, for a transfer if they're buying from someone else versus our store. I don't know if a lot of people, are wondering the same thing. Basically, we get our inventory again from wholesalers, and that pool of inventory is being pulled from all the different retailers all over the country. Now, you have your big online suppliers like Palmetto State Armory, Bud's Gun Shop. A lot of those guys have their own warehouses for their own fulfillment of their own orders on their websites. So those orders are coming in a lot quicker. When my customers were placing transfer orders, again, we were seeing 1 to 2 weeks right when I opened. Now most of those orders are pretty much normal. We're seeing about 3 to 4 day turnaround. Now, some of those big suppliers like Bud's Gun Shop do drop ship. And like we have an online site called cheapgunsusa.com, or you could access it through our main website under the shop online. But all of that stuff, again, we drop ship. We don't have all of that here in the inventory. As you can see, I've only got about 100 or so different firearms here in the store right now. So the drop shipping is what's taking so long, again, because those are just coming from the normal big wholesaler, big distributors that everybody deals with. Now, in terms of sales and volume in our store, again, a lot of it compared to 3 weeks ago when we reopened, and definitely compared to like 6 weeks ago when we first closed, has come way down. Our sales sort of our sales pattern is very normal for what we experience in a May into June. Now keep in mind the normal business cycle in the firearms industry, things do tailor off in the spring and the summer, so we are typically quieter. Moving into June, July, August, we're going to see quieter traffic, of course, unless there's some crazy second wave of panic that happens, but we're anticipating things to slow down. This is typically when the industry starts to get quiet. We're definitely seeing that now. Again, that's just my perspective. I'd be curious to see what other gun stores are experiencing. If you have some input, leave that down in the comment section. Okay, so moving on to that, I wanted to talk about pricing. So on the wholesale level, I am seeing the pricing on certain firearms definitely rising. Where I'm seeing this the most actually is in AR-15s. M&P 15 Sports and Ruger AR-556s especially are climbing up by about like $20, $30, $40 since, versus what I had seen in the past. Now I do order from several different suppliers, so I am seeing this sort of across the board. Typically, like the wholesalers are in such tight competition with one another, and in my field, a widget, a Glock is a Glock is a Glock, so if one person's going to charge me $3 more than the other wholesaler, I'm just going to switch to the other wholesaler. So the prices are usually really tight with one another. So I'm definitely starting to see prices like that increase. Another thing is dealer programs. So around this time, the retailers such as myself are placing orders with the dealer programs. It's basically like we'll order 10, 15, 20 of a certain firearm from a certain manufacturer and we get big discounts. We placed all those dealers, stocking dealer programs is what that is called. We placed those orders back in about January, February. Typically it's around SHOT Show when those orders get placed. So they're trying to fulfill those while also meeting all the normal demand. So all those new product launches, all those really good sales and everything like that, that's not happening because of all the hangups on the distribution level. It's not your gun stores being stingy or not wanting to offer good deals in this time. Also, if you do see prices rising at your local gun store, minor pricing changes like a rise of 2, 3, 4%, that's normal. We are seeing all of our supply going up. That's just what's going to happen. Again, in the period after the election in 2016, we saw prices coming down. So those prices are going to fluctuate. It's supply and demand. You can't get mad at it. We have to pay the higher prices, and those dealers have to offset those prices. Now, if your local gun store or online retailer is hiking up prices by like 10, 15, 20, 30%, that's really high. That's basically they're just taking advantage of the market demand there. But B, like I said, the demand is starting to sort of come back down. So we should start seeing all those crazy prices come down, but remember who charged them. And that's basically it on pricing. But other than that, guys, that's basically the gist of it. I just wanted to give you guys a quick update. So if you've been holding off on placing those orders because of shipping times, again, I would call the person you're ordering from, see what their shipping times are. If you're ordering it in through your gun store, it's probably going to be, again, about a 2 or 3 week delay. Everything else, again, here in the store, our store, no lines. No coming in and purchasing of all the ammunition. We did remove we did have a limit on how many boxes of ammunition a person could buy, especially in 5.56 and 9mm. We've lifted that limit just because it's not necessary anymore. So everything's really returning back to normal, which is an environment that I like. Getting off on a tangent here, a lot of people will say, hey, you as a gun store owner, you must love it when people freak out and buy up all your inventory. Yes, it's great for the first 5 days when everybody's buying everything. But again, we had to close our store for 3 weeks because we were out of inventory and I couldn't get any more to sell. So it does put stress on your business in that way. Although again, yeah, the original, the first few days of those heightened sales are pretty huge. Now, I am going to be interested in seeing what happens with the industry as we start moving into the election climate. So again, we're going to start seeing those ad campaigns and everything start to really kick off into the fall. Around, September, October is when things are going to get really heightened. So if the media coverage isn't still fixated on what's going on with this virus and they shift their attention to the election, we're probably going to see some waves of interest there, not from the panic buyers, but from the gun people, just like we see every 4 years in every election cycle. So I'll try and keep up, again, 1, 2, 3 videos a month on the industry to give you guys an idea of what I am seeing, what I'm seeing with the wholesalers, with supply and all of that, just to kind of give you guys a feel of what's going on. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for stopping by and checking this out. If you do want to see other types of vlogs like this that get more into political and business type of things. I do have a second channel called Marksman Radio. The link is in the description. There's also going to be a button to it here on the screen. But anyway, guys, I'm going to sign off. I am Chris of Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana. You are watching Marksman TV. I will see you next time.